All right, let's dive into something pretty amazing. We're talking about the Ark of the Covenant, but not just any ark, the Ark in Ethiopian theology.
And this is going to be fascinating.
You bet. We're going beyond Indiana Jones here, folks. This isn't just about chasing a lost artifact. It's about how this ark is woven into the very soul of a nation and its faith.
Exactly. It's a living symbol in Ethiopia, shaping their national identity and religious beliefs in some really unexpected ways.
So first things first, we're talking about the Ethiopian claim that they actually have the Ark of the Covenant. They believe it's an axiom at the Church of St. Miriam of Zion.
And it's not just a fringe belief either. This is deeply rooted in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, which is the dominant religion there.
Right, and a big part of their conviction comes from a 13th century manuscript called the Kebra,
which many Ethiopians consider to be the absolute truth.
It's like their historical and spiritual bedrock. And I remember reading about the Kebra in Professor Richard Pankhurst's work on Ethiopian history. He talks about how it tells the story of Menelik I, the son of King Solomon, and the Queen of Sheba bringing the ark from Jerusalem to Ethiopia.
Powerful stuff. Talk about a direct connection to some serious biblical figures, right? It links ancient Israel to the heart of Ethiopia.
It really does. And it's not just a historical lineage either.
Oh, absolutely. The Kebra establishes a spiritual lineage, too. It shows how deeply faith and national identity are intertwined in Ethiopia. The ark being there, as they believe, is a sign of God's continued favor, a mark of their unique place in the Christian world.
So it's not just an old object sitting in a museum somewhere. They see it as a living presence.
Exactly. It's an active force in their faith, shaping their whole worldview.
To really grasp this, we have to go back to the source, right? What does the Bible itself say about the ark in the Old Testament?
Well, you find a detailed description of the ark in Exodus. It lays out its dimensions, the materials used to make it, its sacred purpose as a container for the 10 Commandments.
So this wasn't just some random chest they threw together. Every detail was significant.
Every single detail was imbued with meaning, pointing to a divine plan.
And don't forget where they kept the ark. In the Holy of Holies, the most sacred spot in the whole temple.
Absolutely. It was the very center of Israelite worship, the conduit for communicating with God.
It was the ultimate symbol of their covenant with God, a tangible representation of his presence and his power. And this brings us back to the Ethiopian belief. They're not just saying they own an old relic. They believe they are the guardians of this sacred object, a sign that God is still with them.
That's the key. And it's fascinating how they link the ark to Christ himself. Just like the Israelites approach the ark with reverence, Ethiopian Orthodox Christians believe that when they take part in the Eucharist, they're communing with the divine.
So they're building a bridge between the Old and New Testaments, seeing the ark as a prefiguration of Christ. Both represent the divine presence, a place where the human and the divine meet.
You got it. For them, the ark embodies hope, redemption, salvation, all these powerful themes that run throughout Christian theology. But there's another layer to this, isn't there? The ark as a protector.
Right, the idea that it acts as a spiritual shield to safeguard the people from harm. How does that idea play out in the daily lives of Ethiopian Christians?
Well, think about the history of the Ethiopian church. They've faced invasions, internal conflicts, struggles for centuries, and they see the ark as more than just a symbol. It's an active force that shields them.
It's like that powerful image from the book of Joshua, the ark being used to part the Jordan River, a clear example of divine intervention.
Exactly. And I can see how that would resonate deeply with people who have gone through so much. It gets to the core of the ark as a manifestation of God's power, not just back then, but in the present too. It's this belief that's shaped Ethiopia's identity, even how they see themselves in the world.
It's an incredible tapestry, isn't it? History, faith, national identity, all woven together around the ark. But before we get too deep into the historical and political implications, we need to talk about a figure who is absolutely central to the ark's story in Ethiopia, St. Miriam of Zion.
She's much more than just the guardian of the ark in their belief system.
Right. I get the sense that she's a deeply symbolic figure, often linked to the Virgin Mary. It's like she embodies faith, humility, maternal care for the Ethiopian people.
Absolutely. That connection to the maternal, protective aspect of the divine feminine is strong in Ethiopian Orthodoxy.
But for those of us who don't know much about her, who exactly is St. Miriam of Zion? What makes her so important to their faith?
Well, like a lot of figures from early Christianity, the details of her life are shrouded in legend and tradition. But one thing's clear, she is deeply revered as a model of piety and unwavering faith. They see her as a powerful intercessor, someone who pleads with God on behalf of the faithful. kind of like a loving mother advocating for her children. And that connection to the ark really elevates her, you know? She's not just any saint, she's the guardian of their most sacred relic, the embodiment of God's presence.
It's powerful imagery, isn't it? This protective role, the association with the Virgin Mary, feminine strength, and spiritual authority.
It really is. And her veneration is everywhere in Ethiopia. Churches dedicated to her, icons depicting her life and miracles. People flock to her shrine in Axum seeking her intercession.
Wow. So she's truly beloved, deeply embedded in the hearts of Ethiopian Christians. But going back to the Ark itself, it's not just about theology, is it?
No, not at all. The belief that they have the Ark has profoundly shaped Ethiopia's history, how they've interacted with the world. For centuries, they've presented themselves as this bastion of Christianity, a spiritual fortress, you could say.
And that image of a spiritual fortress is directly tied to their belief in possessing the Ark.
Absolutely. It fuels their sense of uniqueness, this conviction that they have a special role in God's plan. It even influenced how they dealt with other powerful Christian entities, like the Byzantine Empire.
So they weren't just holding on to this belief quietly, they were using it to shape their place on the world stage.
Exactly. And this sense of being spiritually distinct, it's still there today. You know, Ethiopia has always been fiercely independent. They resisted being completely colonized by European powers. And part of that resilience comes from this deep-seated belief in their unique spiritual heritage.
It's amazing, isn't it? How belief in a biblical artifact can shape a nation's history, even its politics. But let's be honest, is there any actual evidence to support the Ethiopian claim?
That's where things get a little tricky. As you know, the Ark disappeared from the biblical narrative centuries ago. Its location remains a mystery, no definitive proof.
So for many Ethiopians, it comes down to faith, not tangible proof.
Yes, and their faith is strengthened by the tradition that the Ark is kept safe within the Church of St. Mary of Zion, guarded by monks who've dedicated their lives to its protection. No one else is allowed to see it.
Secret Society of Ark Guardians, huh? That's fascinating. I mean, physical evidence or not, this belief has had a profound impact on their history, their faith, who they are.
It speaks volumes about the power of belief to shape not just individual lives, but the course of history itself. It shows the enduring power of myth, of symbols, of stories that echo through generations and shape how we understand the world.
It really makes you think, what if, just for argument's sake, the Ark really is in Ethiopia? How would that change how we understand history, religion, even the power of belief itself?
That's a question scholars and theologians have grappled with for ages. If it were authenticated, it would be one of the most significant discoveries ever, archaeologically, religiously. It would challenge everything we think we know about how history unfolded, how cultural and religious ideas were transmitted.
We'd have to rethink our understanding of the ancient world, wouldn't we? How different cultures and faiths interacted.
Without a doubt. It would be like putting together a giant puzzle, suddenly seeing connections and patterns that were hidden before. And it emphasizes how important it is to take seriously the beliefs and traditions of cultures that are different from our own.
It is humbling, isn't it? Realizing how much we don't know, how much there is still to discover. Even if we put aside the question of physical proof, the Ethiopian belief in the Ark offers valuable lessons, regardless of our own personal beliefs.
That's so important. What can we, as outsiders, learn from them?
Well, it challenges us to consider different ways of knowing and understanding the world. Western culture often prioritizes empirical evidence, show me the proof, but the Ethiopians' approach to the Ark shows us that faith, tradition, and lived experience are also valid ways of knowing.
It's like they're saying, our belief doesn't need to be proven to anyone else. It's a truth we hold inside, a truth passed down through generations, part of who we are.
Exactly. And it also encourages us to be more open to the incredible diversity of human experience. The Ethiopian belief in the Ark is a beautiful example of the many ways humans connect with the divine, with something bigger than themselves. It reminds us that there are so many paths to meaning and purpose, and that our own way of seeing things is just one among many.
A call for humility, right? Recognizing that we can learn from those who believe and experience things differently than we do. And it inspires us to look for the sacred in the everyday. The Ark, for Ethiopians, is a symbol of faith, hope, resilience. It's like they've transformed an ordinary object into something extraordinary. It reminds us that the divine, the transcendent, can show up in unexpected ways. It encourages us to look deeper, to be open to the possibility of wonder and mystery all around us.
So even if we don't share their belief that the Ark is physically in Ethiopia, we can still learn from them. appreciate the depth of their faith, the richness of their traditions, the power of belief to shape human experience.
Very well said. It's a reminder that learning never ends, that there's always more to discover, more to question, more to appreciate about the world and the people in it.
It's been an incredible journey exploring the history, the theology, the culture surrounding the Ark of the Covenant in Ethiopian belief. But we need to pause here for a moment.
Don't worry, we'll be right back to finish our deep dive and explore some of the broader implications of this fascinating topic.
And we're back, diving deep into the Ark of the Covenant in Ethiopian theology. It's been quite a journey, hasn't it? The Ethiopian claim, the theology, the historical and cultural impact, even the mystery of whether it exists at all.
It really is remarkable. This single object, wrapped up in mystery and legend, still captures our imaginations. It sparks all these questions about faith, history, the power of belief.
As we wrap up, I keep circling back to this one question. What can we, as outsiders to this tradition, learn from how Ethiopians view the Ark? What insights can we gain from their perspective?
That's a great question. And I think there's so much we can take away from this deep dive. First off, it reminds us that belief can shape not just individual lives, but whole societies. Look at how this belief has influenced Ethiopia, its history, culture, identity.
It's a powerful testament to the enduring power of stories, symbols, myths that resonate across generations. They give us meaning in a world that can often feel uncertain.
Exactly. And second, it challenges us to think about different ways of knowing and understanding the world. Western culture, puts a lot of emphasis on empirical evidence. Show me the proof. But the Ethiopian approach to the Ark shows us that faith, tradition, lived experience, these are also valid ways of knowing.
It's like they're saying, we don't need to prove our beliefs to anyone. It's a truth we hold within ourselves, a truth passed down for generations, woven into who we are.
Precisely. And thirdly, it encourages us to be more open to the vast diversity of human experience. The Ethiopian belief in the Ark is a beautiful illustration of the many ways we connect with the divine, with something bigger than ourselves. It's a reminder that there are countless paths to meaning and purpose, and that our way of seeing things is just one among many.
A real call for humility, isn't it? To recognize that we can learn from those whose beliefs and experiences are different from ours. And finally, this deep dive pushes us to look for the sacred in everyday life. Ethiopians have transformed the Ark into this powerful symbol of faith, hope, and resilience.
It's like they've taken an ordinary object and made it extraordinary.
Exactly. And it reminds us that the divine, the transcendent, can appear in unexpected ways. It encourages us to look deeper, be open to wonder and mystery in the world.
Absolutely.
So even if we don't share their belief that the Ark is physically in Ethiopia, we can still appreciate their deep faith, their rich traditions, and what they teach us about how belief shapes human experience.
Well said. It reminds us that learning is a journey that never ends. There's always something more to discover, to question, to appreciate about the world and the people in it.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. What if, instead of searching for definitive proof or trying to force our own understanding, we just embrace the mystery? What if we allowed ourselves to be amazed by the enduring power of belief and the stories that shape our worldviews? Maybe, in that space of wonder and curiosity, we might discover something truly profound, something that goes beyond history, culture, even faith itself.
That's a beautiful thought to end on. The Ark of the Covenant, whether it's a real object or a powerful symbol, invites us to think about the mysteries of faith, the depths of human belief, and how stories connect us to something greater than ourselves.
And that's a journey worth taking. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deep into the fascinating world of ideas and beliefs.